Hello and welcome to some more advanced lyricism. Today we're going to learn some stuff that I can't even name because it's so amazing, it's so individual, so unbelievable that I basically would probably call it super scouting. But it's something that you have to do. It's a lifetime task and it's something that I learned by myself. And I don't really know if Eminem was really the reason why I learned it, even though, it takes a lot of scouting and stuff. I kind of picked up some of the ideas from like me being in high school and stuff. And just people would start joning. And what they call that down here is basically when people like start, usually black people start talking shit to each other, and then it realizes that they're just talking about bullshit, and then you realize what that was. And it's usually how much you can't tolerate somebody in one spot, or how much you can really tolerate somebody in one spot, or just something that's like blown up out of proportion, like what it would be, and it helps like section people out, into the. It's like you could take somebody and compress them into one area, or somebody who's not in the right spot, you could put them in the right spot. And wordplay is all about that because I mean, if you're in a fucking elevator with packed people in it, and somebody stinks, and you can't say anything about it, look at yourself. And just imagine if you're by yourself and you are those people because see you have to talk to those people about what the fuck you're seeing, you know and that's kind of the point is that if you couldn't tolerate something and it's in the wrong area, it's like somebody's stinking like shit. They probably need to be outside somewhere, is where their profession should go to. People will get grouped up in spots, and then somebody is like so stuck in a job they don't look good. Somebody looks like they have scars all over their face. A woman might look ugly, or a lesbian might be in one spot when she could have been like straight and been in another spot. With the right person, she just couldn't get to it because of all this bullshit. Type of stuff. Or somebody, it's always got to be something bad. You got to find something wrong. Like my voice right now is a little bit big, and something is making me, you know, like eat a snack while I'm in the middle of my speaking. I know that's an error. I know there's errors about me, and I could be reborn in another area. I could be put in another place. I could be in another area. I could be at a different house. A lot of different things, but you have to test it and you have to size it and you have to squish it and you have to push everything that is that in that toleration. When you can't say anything, you have to take that person who's standing there and stinking in the elevator, and you have to be able to find a way to solve that. You have to give them a reason. You have to give them some kind of way to know that they fucking stink, and that they need to go to another spot, and that you standing there is not helping it because you can't say anything about it, or somebody is too loud, somebody's too quiet, someone is unskilled, someone is like unprofessional. So this is just about mapping out things and where things are in the environment. It's kind of like everybody's standing like just how I was in school. Everyone like I go to gym class or whatever class I would go to, and we'd line up against the wall. It's kind of like when the tornado's coming. You just want to be lined up against that wall, and the tornado's what's happening. And then like our whole life is like kind of like a big giant panorama, and we're all in the like on the outskirts, you know, of the middle, of what is going on. And anyway, being able to look at people as not just exactly what they are, you got to look at vision, you got to look at estimates. I have 20/20 vision, and if there was some words up here and I couldn't read what they were, I could get closer, I could get further away, and there is compression involved. And there's also like to know where something is. What we're using now, instead of having you need to get glasses because you can only see 20/20 vision, when there's people who can't see motherfucking 20/20 vision because they can see further, or they have other ways to navigate, and it's just like people that I mean I don't understand why we couldn't just drive blind. When we could close our eyes and we would know where the road's at, but that's not really about this topic. But I'm just saying there's different levels of what we see, and there's a comfortability of it. When someone can see far, you know, well, I mean, that's not really what it's about, but it's just about the landmarks of what we're seeing. So, one thing I took out of this moment is that, I haven't seen my grandparents in a long time because I don't want to see them anymore because I don't have anything to tell them That doesn't have to do with something long distance, so I don't want to know them. I don't want to talk to them on the phone because it's too close. And I just kind of prospected this area that I worked at because I saw the name Leggett and Platt. And to me, if my body was just sitting there, I think I would have got fucked because it says Leggett and Platt. And see, 7 years ago, I sent a song to someone that my aunt, who lives in Georgia, talked to, and his name was Philip Leggett, and I sent him a song, and he played it on his little radio thing. Or it was also somebody that she talked to, but the name Leggett, only has certain references, and it's something that I did not like and did not want because it's annoying, just like me being in this house, and it's just that, little bits of toleration that you cannot stand, are what I'm speaking of, and there has to be a way to fix that. And it's not that now you can just look at it as good. You're not allowed to have that. You're not allowed to have no judgment. In order to put things where they're supposed to be and how they come to you, like you're just sitting there and you are a fucking house and there's just shit coming up in mail, and you're like, man, I'm reading this Leggett and Platt shit, and you're like, well, I haven't seen this motherfucker before, but I have read this shit before, and you can be like, well, I know what that fucking name is, and I'm like, well, this place reminds me of this shit because there's a person here that kind of reminds me of it. And then there's also, the fact that if I was a numb, and how like Eminem probably would punch you like if you didn't say the right thing. Like think about that. Like if you didn't fight back, you'd still be getting fucked. Just from reading Leggett and Platt. Even if it was just my grandmother looking at my point of view, looking at what I was looking at to see what I was doing. But that's what I was looking at. She's dead now, but I know that she's alive now. She's in the stream. But it's just that I wanted to be able to mark Leggett and Platt, and I wanted to make sure that I knew that Philip Leggett, was a person, and I think that is the reason the store was there, is what I'm zooming out to look at. Now, I can't say that that's not true because it's a very tiny example. But see, I can't just say that it's not true. I mean, if I said that's not true, well, it is true. The reason the company Leggett and Platt is there is because, I knew a person named Leggett. And Platt was probably what happened because they don't make very good music. They don't make music at all. They don't make very good stuff, would be more zoomed out. They don't make very good, furniture shit because I had to work at a fucking place that has fucking mattresses. I don't like picking up mattresses. It's boring. And it's because they have no new inventions with mattresses. So how am I going to fucking help you if you don't believe, if you think that Leggett is an awesome person that is so amazing, because I don't judge that person. And then I'd say, I don't like that dude. And, he looks ugly as shit. And that shit is what he looks like. He looks like a fucking mattress thing that goes on the mattress. And I'm like, he looks, like that's what he is to me. That's what he represents, his name Leggett. Everything that I'm looking at, I can't say that now that's good. You can't just take something you don't like and then say that it's good and then accept it like you got ADD. That's not going to help you. We're constantly staring. We're constantly having facial adjustments. And if you think that looks like ass cleavage moving, I mean, it's time to get a reality check. I mean, you can change how your face looks, but the point of this is to kind of adjust that. And I'm just looking at how I could push that building. I'm looking at how I could push this screen and it could feel me, giving it what I am. What I am is basically like a bomb, and all I can do is explode in directions. I know that I can push, and I can push it that way, and I know that it only is relative to me, so that's what I'm doing when I'm marking what this shit is, and so anyway, this person right here was a person that I had to work with. That is Leggett and Platt because he's black. The person was black. I know that he didn't talk much and looks like Napoleon Dynamite. He's like, probably less buggy-eyed, but anyway, it's just that I took an observation of what he looked like, and I said, I don't want him to look this way. I don't want him to be this way, And I was like, here's some suggestions, and I was like, I'm probably gonna have to get away from you because see, I'm fixing to move away from my family, get that out of my way. I'm trying to push against that because it's still there and it's refurbished and it's fucking salvaged, so um, that's the point, and it's looking at somebody's stare, because I mean, what you really want to look at is just somebody who's, staring for a very long time. That's a long amount of time right there. When someone's like, you want to be in a good looking stare, And there's different forms of stares, but it's like being in a picture, and when you're like, I mean, there's constant farts going on. There's got to be angles with them. And there's got to be, you have to have something that looks good. You don't want to be trapped, in fat hamster peanut butter, is what I feel like I'm in this room. And I'd say fat hamster peanut butter because I can't stand it any longer. And that's why, that's there, And, like I said, the color is yellow, that's what I feel like, that's what I look like. I know that the only thing that could fucking tolerate being in here, if I was John and Moore, would probably be peanut butter hamster. That's what will be in this room. In order for me to really tell you how I feel about being in this house with my dad, which is annoying. And then, I took some pictures of, the Firehouse Subs because it reminded me of a song. And I was like, if this dude was in a Firehouse Subs and his face looks like that, and I had to deal with that person for that long, I don't care if it was 14 minutes, but I mean, being up in a Firehouse Sub with that person, and I'm constantly talking about what I cannot tolerate, and how much I can't stand it. That person stuck at a Firehouse Subs would not even last in that place because it'd be so freaking hot, he wouldn't be able to stand it any longer. So that's something I figured out, and all the people in there as well stuck in that Firehouse Subs. It was about 5 or 6 people that I was working with there. It was really bothered me a lot. And then I just looked at, another thing that I would talk about in my song, which this is probably just one song, that I could notate, or just a word, or just a combination of words. But I do this with everything I do. I make sure that I am the consumer and the seller. I make sure that I am there, and I'm present. I'm like a balloon. And everyone else is like balloons, and it's like we could just push each other, and then they'd start kind of floating that direction. You got to look at what you can say, how it'll piss someone off, and how it'll get them to do what you want them to do. How it'll make you happy. Because they are relative to you. I'm here as your tool. If you talk some shit about me, it's going to make me feel better. Because you're going to tell me how you could push me just a little bit, and I'm just going to kind of move and bounce off the other direction. And that way I can go my way a little bit more, and I know that you're there. I don't want to be just floating along and there's 10 people in an elevator and someone farts and then someone can't smell it and someone's still buying chocolate chip cookies. I mean, come on. I mean, you know what the difference between, a chocolate chip cookie fart and just, like a sexy fart is. And that's a big difference. It's like 10 minutes and 1 second. I don't want to sit there for, smelling 10 minutes of just some nasty shit, in a room. Somebody's got to be able to, dude, instead of just be like, boom, and I'm like, man, that's just disgusting, So, that's just kind of the point, is that toleration aspect. It's just like looking at this guy that was right next to the Firehouse Subs. This guy was right next to the Firehouse Subs, and you can tell that it was right next to it. And, I'm just looking at how this impacted me. I'm seeing that there's, a martial artist instructor, and he's holding a foot and smelling it. And that's all I'm seeing there. I'm looking at her face, I'm looking at it held like that. If I was sitting there like this, like, my foot up in the air, and that exact look, just kind of, for that long, how would that impact me? And how would I want to look a little bit better? Rather than just sit there. And it's not just it's not him stopping a slow motion kick. It's not like, I'm just going, yeah. You know, I mean, it's slowed down in slow motion. That guy is just holding a foot and smelling it. That's exactly what martial arts was to me. You know, and it pisses me off and really much bothers me as well. I wish there was a solution besides more kicking, you know, because that's what it always looks like to me. And that's exactly what the picture is. I mean, look at that guy. I mean, he's supposed to look good sitting there. He looks like shit. He needs a tattoo or something. You know, that girl needs to dye her hair brown. You know, that's the type of things you want to talk about. You know, that's the type of things that I would talk about. That's what anyone should talk about, you know, is what you should change and what you should do. Because, see, if you're stuck in a position, you know, you will look like something that is not happy. When our face gets drawn long, you know, when I'm talking like this, there's things that were good that was said about me, you know, that are not insulting and would make me feel good, you know, and that's because I am being worked on by everyone. Everyone is pushing against my bubble, you know, and letting me know that I'm there. You know, I'm pushing back. You know, I want to make sure I can push myself from their bubble, you know, so I know that I'm pushing me, you know, but I can look ugly, you know, and I can look good, but I mean, over a course of 20 years or 5 years or 50 years or 500 years, you know, is what I'm looking at, and how someone's face can grow lines here, you know, if they're like, you know, frankly, you know, and it can grow like that. And I mean, I could have a clone of me that was grown right next to me and could have a different, you know, trace of wrinkles or have no wrinkles at all, you know, because I would have been paying more attention, you know, because it's like having a facelift. It's like having a turn lift. It's like having a bend lift. It's like having a used lift. You know, it's different types of lifting, but I mean, when you do expressions and when you do remarks, you know, you know, ways your face looks, and you know, it's not like stuck in something you wouldn't want to be fucking stuck in. You know, is what I was talking about. And you know, this is just one example of one small survey. You know, and then here's the girl version, and she's looking at a boy on his phone. You know, that's him holding an Android. It's not there, but that's what it looks like. You know, and it kind of shows us the state of mothers. It shows us the state of how women are looked at with the perversion and everything involved when they have their period, which is handy. But men can masturbate all day and it's not as good as a period. It's the same thing. You know, it's got to be balanced out. That's another note that I'm taking. I'm saying that, you know, there's motion. You know, it's not just a picture sitting there still. You know, I'm saying that, you know, a car is moving. You know, I'm saying that, you know, I'm watching it go by. You know, I'm watching it observe. I'm seeing where I want things to go. And I'm saying that something can go this way. And then next time it runs again, you know, it can go a little bit slower. It can go the same speed, go faster, but it's got to notice something new. You know, and that's the point. You know, and there's always something new that happens. That's what ants do, you know, when they build. You know, and I mean, you can just see how she's just looking at his hand. She must have a hand fetish. You know, but that's what I would make her have. And I would have her stuck in that position until she can't stand it any longer. You know, and then she would fix it. She'd be able to do something new. You know, something actually progressive in you, something good. And I'd apply that to this whole pile of shit, including myself. And then, you know, then instead of being stuck in a caught position, oh, you caught me, I'm stuck. You know, what am I going to do now? You know, then, you know, I'd be able to fix it instead of have there be, you know, guilty and not. You know, instead it would be like, this is what's going to be changed. And this is what I go through every day is I'm bouncing off of this shit. You know, when I was in high school, people would call out shit that I didn't even talk about yet. And that I couldn't talk about because I'm courteous when I was in high school. And that's what you call a John. Because it's a jar going off. It's when you're talking and you're still talking. It's like, you know, like that. It's like, like that. That's you talking to yourself, and that is how this stuff operates. You know, and, you know, also, you know, naturally we talk to ourselves like that, and you can't stop it. I mean, if you're in a room with a bunch of people talking, they're going to do it for you. You know, and I mean, you can't really stop it. I mean, not if you're listening to one person. Listen to another person. Another person. You know, because, you know, when I'm talking, you know, I'm doing everything that I'm doing right here is basically what I just now said again. And, you know, it's just that, you know, when your mouth is closed, it is, you know, it's bouncing off of stuff. It's going, and it's to me usually it's like I mean, it usually feels like I'm like pinning up a hot chick up against the wall, and then she's like, I can't talk. She's like, or she'll say like, don't, and they'll be like, it'll be like that, and then she can't move. She's like, and then she has a baby, you know, and it's like kind of like in the Matrix, you get your mouth like all shut, and then she can't talk. She's like, and I tried to pack like any words that would, you know, kind of put more zeal into that, you know, like a little bit more like she can't talk more, but she's getting more into her. You know what I'm saying? And I mean it fast. You know what I mean? You know, and yeah. So that's just a little run through of what I was kind of notating. I also notated that the phone that was ringing in the building, you know, also had you know, these are all small strategic differences that we can verify and confirm. You know, if someone else did notice this, it's something we can add. You know, something we can. It's like having a vote ballot. Someone says, you know, you were right about all this stuff. You know, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to kind of add what I said to that too. You know, there is no, you know, not doing this. You know, you're going to do it regardless. That's why there's expansion and black holes and explosion. You know, and I was looking at numbers in this and seeing it, well, how it correlates with everything. I mean, I examine every single thing I see, and I make sure that it's going to push outwards and it's going to be able to actually make it to something that has just a little bit of push, you know, momentum. And but yeah, the phone had the same dial tone as the one at my granddad's house, and that's what really lit it off for me. And I usually use 3 signs is a good enough sign to say that that area is like a dream place that has to do with that area. And I know that it's kind of seems like it takes forever, right? But really, it's pretty damn instantaneous. I think that it took a long time for there to be a place that was chosen in that area, Spartanburg or wherever it was at, that had that mattress firm that I worked at. You know, that had, you know, those people there that went to it and were accepted into it. And I know it is a very small margin of reason why they would be there, but still, it's in progress. It's something that's going on. There's all kinds of influences, but it's still me being there and having to tolerate it. And if I don't like it, you know, then here's what I don't like, you know, about me having to be stuck up in here. That's not heaven to me. It's not a good place to me. You know, I don't even like heaven. You know, so I wouldn't even want to be in a place. You know, to me, you know, I wouldn't want to be in that place. You know, so that's how I can, you know, definitely, you know, change things. And I knew that that same phone, the dial tone was the same one as my grandpa. So I had the dial tone, I had somebody's face, and I knew he had a name. I forgot what it was, but it was one that I could recall. It's different than one I can't recall. And, you know, it has Philip and Leggett. You know, so there's 3. You know, and then I knew it was Mattress Firm. It has to do with different things that it has to do with that pissed me off. You know, just small little things, tiny things. And yeah, so I log things about that, and you know, I try to kind of go from one spot to the next. Like how I showed you in one video, I'm like this, and I told you how to seal in the 4 directions video. That's what this is about. It's kind of like having, it's like having something that you could touch the very top here, very top here, you know, very top here. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'd be able to navigate, you know, memorily, you know, about how that was working, you know, and you know, I just worked at another place that had the same phone, you know, and you know, you have to take those people and, like I said in the repopulation demographics video, you know, you have to look at, you know, how those 10 people, you know, relate to your 10 people, you know, or 3 people or 2 or 1 or 5 or whatever it is that you need to fix now, you know, to adjust a little bit better. You know, every single day, you can't say that your hair, you know, looks good perfectly or looks like shit perfectly. I mean, there's always something that's going to change. You know, you lose hair. It's not like you have the same amount. But we'd love to have the same amount and be that happy. But a lot of shit is happening at the same time. You know, it's just like wishing you always had that family moment, you know, and then you realize that there's so much other shit right now going on. You know, that shit, you know, really wasn't the shit that could really be going on. You know, because there's so much stuff going on. There's so much of this surveying going on. You know, so a lot of the time something permanent, you know, is there's so much change going on. You got to realize what made you stick still and not enjoy it. You know, what made you, you know, want to make this shit change for the better. Because I mean, I've had past memories, but I'm trying to teach myself now that I can't have the same fantasies about what I've had. I mean, if I'm having fantasies about it, it must not be that fucking good. You know, because I can't make it better. You know, I can't have something that's the same if it's not going to be able to be better. You know, so I got to figure out how that fits in the world with me. You know, one of my biggest fantasies is to be able to sit there and have a dream, you know, where I can actually, you know, do something that I would fantasize about that I could actually creatively do. However, it seems to constantly be changing, you know, and that's because, you know, maybe there's not any bad stuff in it if it's a fantasy. You know, you got to have something that is bad to fix. You know, when you fantasize about something, and it's got to be shitty. It's got to be horrible. You know, it's got to have a lot of bad things going on. You know, that you can actually say, all right, this half is bad. You know, or this is not good. This is good. You know, let me chisel this down. Or maybe I'm not good, and maybe I be chiseled down. You know, but I want to look better. I mean, I'm looking at me right now. You know, and I'm just seeing how I'd like to have a little bit thinner face, a little bit better nose, you know, and I mean, it could change, you know, but it's just that it has to, you know, it's just, it's not permanent enough, you know what I'm saying? It's like needs correction, everything needs correction, you know. But yeah, you know, I hope you enjoy that, you know, it's just, you know, surveying what is there, and most of that stuff I believe is just put there for my amusement. I believe that because of that, it really made me angry. And, you know, I'd like there to be some change. So just kind of learn how to survey. You know, you can group words together about it. But you want to take everything you have kind of like a hamster cage and have, you know, all the rooms in it. You know how they have the little connectors. You know, you could have all the connectors, all the rooms connected. Like, you know, your school's in one. You know, each day in school has one. You know, each place has one. Each thing that can be different. You know, that can fork from the choices. You know, like I can go over here. I can go over here. You know, like, you know, you're like, you know, this was nice. This is nice because all this shit is ongoing. You know, like every day in your school right now is still ongoing. It's not ongoing in your head. It's ongoing out there. You know, it's out, like if it was a successful day, then it did carry, you know, onto the next day. And, you know, and that's because, you know, there's areas where this stuff will come together and it's still connected, you know, and, you know, so a lot of these days that we have in our absence, you know, we may realize that we could actually fix those days where we could have had something else done during those days. You know, like when I was hanging out with my family and I had other shit that I wanted at the time and I didn't have a way to get what I wanted. Now I'm looking at the fact that just that one little phone ringing in the building, you know, just made me a little bit more pissed off because I have to deal with that sound again. And I know that that is that home feeling, so I know that it was connected somehow. And, you know, if anything, at least it was connected to me. And I didn't like it. And I'd rather put it in there so I'd know, you know, this is where I'm from, and this phone having that same ringtone doesn't have a slight strategic difference. You're telling me that if I say the number 100, that someone wasn't counting 100.23 or 100.24, or they were counting in, you know, like if I were counting like in some other numeral, or maybe they were counting in pounds or troy ounces or, different forms of measurements, metric, or, inches, and then I'm like, 100 isn't 99. You'd be like, oh, that's about 100. Because that's all I'm talking about here is just the fact that you could say something is 3, something is 3.5, and someone said it was 3, and then it was 3.5. That's how we figured this stuff out, and it's really small of an amount, but it's just the truth that you can't say something that is exactly what you mean, because there's always another difference, that you could subtract or add, and it's really small little differences. You could say I walked to the right, but really I was going to the left backwards. It's just that, it's like this is a foot long distance here. And I could just say that's it. And then someone's like, oh, really? And then they just like, that's your estimate. And they're like, I'm okay. And then everyone starts building that way. Like, oh, this is 1 foot. This is 1 foot, and then everybody starts understanding that. And it's that one mistake. We're like, whoa, actually, it was probably like 6 inches right here. Like, no, it's probably like, 8.5. But you have to be able to know how that works, and how that approximation really makes a difference. And it's not zero difference because you're paying attention to it. So, if you think that you're schizophrenic, how about get rid of the building? So you can actually be like, the only reason there's stupid people in a building is probably because there's a stupa, dedicated to people not knowing shit. Just look at the slight differences that you do pay attention to and realize that they really do make a difference.